just a little comparison between Cain and Abel and Jacob and Esau, and how their prophecies line up in comparison between the two brothers. How in spirit they were the same, and the story still stretches out throughout the Bible. The same story perpetuated. But I'll let Brother Darian start us off by doing the intro and give thanks to the Most High.
Bet. So before we begin, we want to give all praises, power, glory, and thanks to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Karkadash. Double honors to the elders, the prophets, the apostles, the wise men, our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Salutations to the hopeful elect that are here pushing the truth to the four corners of the earth. To them, we say Shalom. And just like Brother Paris said, we're talking about how Jacob and Esau and Cain and Abel are actually the same individuals. Because whenever you die, or no matter what goes on, we always carry the same lot. So to begin with, I'm going to read Ecclesiastes chapter 1. I'm going to read verse 9, and it says, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun." So what he's telling you is that if it's been here before, it's going to happen again. Just like a lot of people have to understand, the Messiah or the Hamashiach, he didn't get it right the first time either. He had to keep being, revived and things like that. So whenever you die and you come back and things like that, although you do not remember the past lives, you still remember, you still carry that same lot. So to begin with, I'm going to read the comparisons of the characteristics of Cain and Abel and Jacob and Esau. So I'm starting Genesis chapter 4 and verse 1, and it says, "And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord." And verse 2, and she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So talking about those two things, it's the same thing as when they were birthed, quote unquote. Cain came first, and then Abel came second. Same thing with Jacob and Esau. Esau came first, Jacob came second. Just like it talks, Second Esdras 6 and 9, when it tells you, Jacob, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the one, it's the beginning, roughly paraphrased. And verse 2 talks about how Abel was the keeper of sheep, and Cain was the tiller of the ground. Well, there you go. If you read, it's the Lord tells you, the flock of my sheep or the pasture of my sheep are men. So same thing with Jacob. You know what I'm saying? The lost sheep of Israel that's the children of Jacob. You know what I'm saying? That's how you read precept upon precept. It might not be the first line, but you got to just read throughout it. And Cain was the tiller of the ground, meaning he was a huntsman, basically, tiller of the ground. He grew stuff, and he knew the land better than anybody else. So it's saying tiller of the ground. So Genesis 25 and 26, just like I was saying, it's talking about how Esau came out first, and then Jacob was after that, and he held on to his heel. 27, telling you again how Esau is a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. If you look up the word plain, what it's telling you is he was a very righteous man. He kept the command, law, statutes, and the holy days. He was a righteous man. So don't be fooled by that word plain. It holds lots of weight. So talking about how, so we're going to talk about Esau and Cain real quick, right? So both of them sinned. That's what you have to understand on that one. They both were rejected by Yahweh and swore to kill their brother. All right. So we back in Genesis chapter 4. Mm-hmm. I'm reading verses 3 through 8. I'm going to skip 6 though. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respected unto Abel and to his offspring. But unto Cain and to his offspring he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So what he's talking about that, like we talked about in the last video, if you haven't watched it, how Cain is not of the seed of Adam. He is the seed of the serpent, of that fallen angel that, tricked Eve.
And I jump in right here in Genesis.
Go ahead, bro.
All right, so just like he was talking about earlier, and just like he was talking about earlier, like the comparison between Cain and Abel and Jacob and Esau. Just like he was saying, you have to understand that the same thing has to be played out again and again for prophecy to be in fruition. Just like Cain and Abel had their lot, they had their part to play in the whole story. Now it was passed on to Jacob and Esau, so they had to play their part. So that's why you see all these comparisons between the two drawing a line, because essentially they are the same spirit, the same soul. They just reincarnated again to do their lot again, just like Brother Dan was saying. And just like he was talking about in Genesis 4:3-8, he was talking about how just like Cain had offered a blessing up to Yahweh, but because Cain was not a keeper of the law, and he wasn't trying to hear the law, and just like Brother Dan said, he was not of the law, he was from the serpent seed, so Yahweh rejected him. And that's what Brother Dan was getting at, verses 3-8. Yahweh rejected him and rejected his offering, but he he took Abel's offerings, and he loved Abel because Abel followed the ways of Adam, because Adam taught him the word, because that was his son. So what that did is that made Cain very jealous. So that invoked a lot of anger into Cain. So what Cain did was he gained vengeance and rose against his brother Abel and killed him. And there's also another story, very senseless, in Genesis that pertains to this same situation. Again, I'm going to get to that in Genesis 25. And I won't read it verse for verse, but verses 31-33, I'll just start right here. And Jacob said, "Sell me this day thy birthright." And Esau said, "Behold, I am at the point to die. What profit shall the birth do me?" And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day." He swore to him. He sold his birthright to Jacob. So just like again, you have the same situation where Esau, he was never a keeper of the law, and he never understood his birthright and how the importance of it was. So what Jacob did, Jacob understood that Esau never cared about anything like that, so he sold it. So what Jacob did is he took the birthright and the blessing, which Yahweh already knew this was going to play out this way. That's why he let it play out this way. A lot of people get confused with this situation because they'll be like, so why didn't Yahweh step in and try to stop it? No, because this is ordained to happen this way. And then I'm going to jump to Genesis chapter 27, verses 15-41. I won't read all of them, but I'm going to jump around to give y'all a little understanding between the comparisons. And just like we understand the story of Esau and Jacob, how basically Rebekah helped Jacob dress up like Esau because Isaac was in his, he was on his deathbed basically, and the last thing he wanted was venison. So he basically asked, he said, "Well, could you bless me with venison?" And he said, "I would bless you." So basically Esau was the first one to go out. He went out to the field to get the venison. So what happened was Rebecca knew that Esau would take so long. So what she did is she already had venison prepared. So as she was preparing the venison, she had Jacob dress up, and she put fur on his body and all this, and she had him kind of mimic Esau. So when it was brought to Isaac, he kind of knew at the beginning, because you have to understand is when Isaac is a very wise man, and although he was blind, all his other senses were very keen. They're very hightailed. Just like anybody that's blind, they might not can see, but all their other senses are heightened. So even though he might not could smell or feel him, he can know by the sense of the way he talked and the tone of his voice that it wasn't Esau. He knew it was Jacob from the beginning. But he understood the ordained from the beginning that they were told that Esau would serve Jacob, and that Jacob would have the kingdom in the end of the last days, and Esau would have the fatness of the earth. So Isaac already understood all the prophecies that came with this. So Jacob was blessed, and he had the blessing. So Esau came back with the venison, and he was very upset. So he went to his father saying, and I'll jump down to, let me get it.
It's like 40. I don't know. 32 or 31.
Yeah, 31. And I'm gonna get 31. And he also had made a savory meat and brought to his father and said, "His father, let me arise and eat of his son's venison. Thy soul may bless thee." And Isaac's father said, his father said unto him, Who art thou? He said, "I am the son, thy firstborn Esau." 33. And Isaac remembered exceedingly and said, Who, where has thou taken the venison and brought it to me? Have eaten all of thou comest? So he's basically saying, have you taken all, where you taken the venison? Have you ate it all? Have blessed him? Ye shall be blessed. So he's saying, have you blessed him already? Shall you bless me? 34. And Esau heard the words of his father and cried a great and exceeding bitter cry and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. So Esau already understood that the blessing was already given to Jacob. So he's saying, Bless me, father. You got another blessing for me. So 35. And he said, Thy brother come so suddenly and have taken away thy blessing. And it said to him, Not rightly named Jacob, for hast supplanted me these 2 times and taken away my birthright. And behold, he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, Have thou not reserved a blessing for me? In verse 38, Esau said unto his brother, Have thou not one blessing for my father? Bless me, even also me, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Esau hated Jacob, because the blessing were in his father, and blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, Thy days of mourning my father are at the end, and I will slay my brother Jacob. So just like Cain had that anger and that vengeance in his heart, because Yahweh had chosen him over him. Yahweh had chosen his brother over him. So he didn't understand that the prophecies and what it was ordained. So he had that anger in him to slay his brother, just like Esau. So that's where you draw the precepts and you draw the lines together, because both of them were cursed, and they were ordained from the beginning to be a part of the wicked.
Oh, to touch on, to throw in what he was just reading, you can read Hebrews 12, 16 and 17 too, when he's talking about crying and stuff like that. He refused. Yep. He refused to repent. That's what his problem was. You can read more of that, like Jasher, if you can find a book for it. But yeah, if you want to get more details on Cain and Abel, you should read Jasher. Go ahead, bro.
Facts. And just like Brother Darren was saying, when he's saying he wept, he refused to repent. He refused to follow the law, because Isaac taught both Jacob and Esau the way, but Esau he always rejected. He never was into it. Just like Cain was never into it. Just like we tell people all the time, every nation had a chance. They had their own lot to lay, but they also made their own choices. So at the end of the day, Yahweh's gonna make his choice. What he got to do, and we'll touch on this topic later on another video. But this is also another play on Revelations 20, where it talks about where the struggle between the devil and the heathens and his agents, and between the angels, which are the Israelites. And this is talking about the basic roughly around 15,000 to 20,000 year struggle over history and the world time period, just between our ancestors and their ancestors, just fighting between the truth and the wicked, basically. And that's basically what that details. We'll go over that a little bit more, and I'll let Brother Darian jump into Cain.
All right.
His curses.
Oh, to also touch on that, you got to also understand, Isaac knew it. You got to be aware. Isaac was aware, like Brother Parrish was saying, Isaac was aware that he knew his sons, like any other parent would know. You understand? Like, you can hear his voice and understand who he is and things like that. Mm-hmm. But you also understand Isaac was also the Hamashiach, which people don't know how to connect the dots. But Isaac, that's how you touch Matthew 1:1. It says he was the son of Abraham. He was Isaac. That's why in Romans 9, if you read through it, he tells you, through Isaac, the seed shall be called, because it's going through the Hamashiach. So that's another piece. But talking about Cain, I'm in Genesis, back in Genesis 4. And what we're talking about in this one, I'm going to read 13. So basically in this one, this is when he slew Cain, and the Lord was looking for, Abel. When Cain slew Abel, and the Lord was looking for him, and the Lord cursed him, which I'm going to start in 12. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. Just like now, he plagued our foods is full of GMOs, because the earth has been, his crops have been tainted. Mm-hmm. So they be coming up with these false foods. Just like the elder was saying, you go into the grocery store and you got vitamins. You shouldn't have to buy vitamins separate from food.
They should already be in the food.
Exactly. It's because it's the Most High. He brought that upon him. That's his lot. is Cain. Also, so 13, and it says, and Cain said unto the Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. So that's what he's talking about, how he stick out, about that. We're going to go in more detail about the curse and things like that. But he's just telling him how he sticks out. And, they were getting killed, enslaved left and right, just like in the Dark Ages. People been killing them and stuff like that. And a lot of people think the Edomites have been in power for so long, but they really haven't. They've really been, in the eyes of the Most High, it's probably been like half a day, if that.
Roughly 300, 400 years in our time.
Yeah.
Not that long.
So they haven't even been in power for so long. So I'm jumping to Job 30:3 to help you connect it. For one, in famine they were solitary, flying in the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mellows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys and caves of the earth and in the rocks. So basically, this is when they came out looking like cavemen. They were like they chased after them like thief because they were plagued. Nothing, they couldn't grow anything. Yes, they were hunters, but nothing was going their way. So the only way they could really eat, they would have to steal stuff and basically be like animals. You know what I'm saying? Like if you ever seen like Tarzan or something like that, they were like that. You know what I'm saying? They were literally, they used to crawl on all fours.
Neanderthal man. That's what Neanderthal.
Right.
He talks about Neanderthal.
Like Neanderthals. And that's when they came up with that bullshit ass. My bad. And that's when they came up with that nonsense evolution. Like that's what it is. But I'm gonna let Brother Paris read about Esau.
So yeah, I'm gonna touch on the curses of Esau. So I'm gonna start off with Romans 9:13, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. So that's just giving us a little pretext of how Yahweh feels about Esau from the beginning. Then I'm gonna jump down to Genesis 27:39 through 40. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. Which means the fatness of the earth is saying he will get the remnant, He would get the remnant, the dew. He would get the droplets, the very little, the very bottom, He's not getting the best. He's getting the very little, the very bottom of everything. So he's saying after everybody get theirs, then he will get his. That's basically if you want to get the gist of it. That's what Isaac was saying. And then 4, and by thy sword thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, and thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So basically saying live by the sword is basically just how they live now. They live by the sword, meaning not actual sword, just the weapon of choice of that time. Sometimes we use cannons, sometimes we use rifles, or sometimes we use actual samurai swords or bludgeon weapons. It would just mean Esau would be the number one craftsman or maker of these tools of destruction. And just like today, anybody that knows anything about weapons or assault rifles or nuclear bombs, we already know who makes these things, who are the perfect scientists to make these weapons of destruction. Because that was the blessing, that was the design, that's what they're meant here to do. And that's why you see anytime Esau has a problem, he ain't got no issue with showing what he got. And just like I said, he shall serve thy brother. That was their purpose and design, is to serve thy brother, be thy brother's keeper. But he turned away from that. And basically it said it will come time when we break that yoke off his neck, and saying he'll break the dominion that we had over him. Because just like Brother Dan touched on, they only been in rulership for a very short time in the Most High's eye, roughly about 400 years. And just how he said, just in the Dark Ages, our ancestors used to hunt these people, and they would find them in their towns and chase them straight out of there. So it used to be a time they were hunted. So they broke that dominion, and they broke that yoke off their neck, and they finally got the rulership. So that's what it was talking about. Like they would finally get rulership after being hunted and sought after so long.
Yeah, that was in the Renaissance. That's why it's called the rebirth.
And I'm gonna jump to Job 9:24, and this is also another precept to Isaac. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, he covered the faces of the judge thereof. If not, where? And who is he? And basically that last part, that's a rhetorical question. Yahweh already knows who the judges are because he's the one who ordained them. And basically that's just confirming what Isaac said. He's saying the wicked. And we know the wicked is, and I'll touch on that later in Malachi 1 and 4, but we know who the wicked is because Yahweh gave him that byword name, or that surname.
Or the judges, he's talking about the Israelites.
Yeah, the
Just
judges,
like
but I'm talking about, the wicked.
Yeah, just like how they be whitewashing everything and taking over pictures and things like that. Like, people be thinking the Edomites did all this thing, but they needed us to create anything. Any and everything. We're the salt of the earth. They dusty. So the face of the judges are the Israelites. That's what he's talking about. Like judges, like gods. Gods means judges. The Elohim. That's what he's talking about. So yeah. So he's gonna read Malachi 1 and 4. But that's what Job 9 and 24 is basically talking about.
Exactly. And this time directly into Genesis 27 and 40 when Isaac, Salakia, when Isaac basically tells Esau that we have dominion, he would break their yoke off his neck. That's what he's talking about. He would break their yoke off his neck. I'm going to jump to Malachi 1 and 4, and we'll get more understanding why they call him the wicked. Whereas the Edom says, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. They mean the places that Yahweh has destroyed. Thus says the Lord of hosts, they shall build and I will throw down. So he's saying they will build up and I will throw down again. And they shall call them the border of wickedness. So right here, Yahweh was saying they will call them the border of wickedness, meaning they will call them the wicked. So anytime you hear in the Bible that they're referring to the wicked, this is how you know they're referring to these people. Anything they do or something that came from them. Because Yahweh gave them that name. The people whom the Lord has indignation forever. So that means it doesn't change forever. So that's letting us know again that just like Brother Dan was talking about in Job 9:24, who the judges are, this letting us know who the wicked are. And I'm going to skip around a little bit, or I'm going to touch a little bit in Obadiah, because that's a lot of the prophecy or the curses for Esau.
I don't know why people be trying to skip Obadiah. Like Obadiah is that's how you figure out what's going to happen to Esau, Edom, and people skip around it. It's a short chapter.
It's short, very short.
Short but full of meat.
I'm going to start with verse 9. And thy mighty men, O Tenem, shall be dismayed to the end of everyone. The mountain of Esau shall be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob shall come over thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So again, it's saying, the Yahweh saying that the mighty men, meaning the high up, the kings, the queens, or the people that you see on TV that are making the money move, the bankers or your elite. He's saying he's going to bring them down. He said he's going to bring them low and cut them off by slaughter. And he's reminding you again. He's saying he's reminding you for what he's doing it for the violence against Jacob. Talking about in the past against the fall of 70 AD, and he's talking about now what they're doing here in America. And he's talking about in slavery. He's talking about all this time over history. He's seen the violence that you had against your brother Jacob. He said, I will cut you off forever. In verse 11, in that day thou stoodest on the other side, that the strangers carried away the captives and his forces, and the foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou wast one of them. Verse 12, and that's basically talking about the fall of 70 AD and how basically Babylon came and took over Israel. And Esau, Edom, or the Idumea basically did nothing, and they were dwelling within our camp. And they just basically sat there and let them take it over and actually help them out. And verse 12, but thou stoodest over there and looked in the day of thy brother, and thou became a stranger. Neither thou should have rejoiced over the children of Judah in their destruction, neither should have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Verse 13, thou should have not entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yeah, thou should have not looked on their affliction of the day of their calamity, nor have they laid their hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. 14, neither should I have that stood in the crossway to cut off those his that did escape, neither should I have delivered up those his that did remain in the day of distress. 15, for the day of the Lord is never upon all the heathen, is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done shall be done unto thee, thy reward shall appear on thy hand. thy head. So basically saying everything that Esau Edom has done over the years to Jacob, that should be done to them. So anything, that's why you see all these curses. That's why you see a lot of things they're flipping on them. Like everything they try to do to us, it flips back on them. It turns them to the worst, and it turns us for the better, because he's trying to uplift the curses from us and trying to put them back on them. But a lot of these wicked jakes, they just kind of hindering the process and not help speeding up the process by kind of getting in the way. A lot of y'all just got to get out of the way, and that means, hey, but y'all learning or y'all getting cleaned up. Don't matter to me.
Yeah, because people got to understand, you got to have a ruling mindset. It's easier to rule with a smaller number than it is with a bigger number. So that's what they doing with this New World Order. They're trying to get rid of majority of the population, mostly the children of Israel, and they're trying to boost their population, but it's easier to control a smaller number than it is a bigger number. So just like how they got a plan, the Most High has a plan too. He got to get rid of all this dead weight, because it's too much. He's not throwing you away. He's just saying, hey, yeah, you're going to die by pain and stuff like that, but you're going to be regenerated, and you're going to inherit the kingdom too. That's how gracious and merciful he is.
Exactly. And just to close it up, I'm going to close it up with 17 with this portion. 17, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions, meaning possess Esau Edom. And that's basically saying, that's basically the judgment, or the basically the curse of Esau Edom, is that everything that he built up over this time, in this very short time, to rule the world and to make itself known as the ruler among men, it will all be destroyed utterly, quickly, by the Lord and the Most High, and it will be taken in possession by the children of Judah and Zion.
Yeah, he's talking about that with the horn. When it says it was a little horn. That little horn is America, just like how they rose shortly, but they're gonna fall hard. That's what he's talking about.
And that's in I got a video on that if y'all want to check on YouTube, break it down. But now the next portion we're gonna jump into is both how Cain and Esau was given a mark, and what that mark is, and kind of break down that mark. And before we get into that, I just want to jump into Exodus to kind of give a little background on this mark and what it means. A lot of people got a misconception about this. So I want to jump into Exodus 4:6-7. And Yahweh said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom, and put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. So I mean, leprous as snow, meaning that it's talking about how his hand was very dark, and then when he put his hand into his bosom, it came out light. I mean, so that's letting you know that he was a very dark man, and that leprosy has nothing to do with what they talk about now, where you get mumps and it's a cellular structure disease. That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about an actual pigment malfunction where you lose pigment in your skin, and a lot of people have over time got that misconstrued, and basically biblical leprosy, if you want to get the root of it, is very similar to what you would call an albino, and the word for that would be
Zarat.
So Zarat.
Zarat.
And another thing I want to jump in. If you go on Google and you kind of look up the word albino, because this is a Portuguese word, it derives from Spanish. That's where it derives from. And it's a Latin word. It basically means white. That's where albino comes from. That's where in nature, you hear about albinos, stuff like that. That's all it means, basically white. And it derives from that. And the word that I want to step to is congenital. Congenital lacking melanin pigmentation. And I want to get that word. And if you look up that word congenital, that just means a trait or disease that's been present since birth. And that's the definition that I really want to pull from right there, is that it's a trait or disease present since birth. And that's a congenital lacking melanin pigmentation disease, and that's what leprosy is. And just like we do before, this is why we go through definitions and kind of pull them out, because we want to get an understanding of this, because that's what Esau does. He trick you by not telling you the definition of words, and you don't understand these things until somebody brings it out, and then you're shocked. But we have to get these definitions, get this understanding. So just like I said, albino was something that's been that basically is a pigmentation, the skin disease that was present since birth. We're going to get into the mark of leprosy and basically different points in the Bible and how it pertains to Esau and Edom. So I'm gonna jump to Leviticus 13:30. Then the priest shall see that the plague, behold, and that to see the plague, and behold, if it be a sight deeper than the skin, there be a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. And it is a dry scale, even leprosy upon head or beard. So
Just
basically,
like,
you know,
yeah,
go ahead,
go
brother.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, just like how people be, our women love to dye their hair blonde. Well, first it told you in Proverbs 3:31 to not envy the oppressor and choose none of their ways. So we look crazy when we out here dyeing our hair blonde. And most people going, not saying all women, but some women going to be like, oh, it matches my complexion and stuff like that. They're using emotions over what the scripture is saying. Like, you're not doing nothing but making yourself unclean. That's just so
Exactly.
pointless.
It's just like he hit the nail on the head right there. Just like even brothers too out here with the blonde hair. It's like, that even a Levite priest, if they seen you with it, they will go ahead and deem you like that person's unclean, because naturally our hair is supposed to be a dark color, black, because that's naturally what Yahweh gave us. Then as you get older in wisdom, it will turn white, and that's a blessing if you actually get to that point. And I just wanted to pull that out just to let you know, to get a better understanding of leprosy and what it is pertaining to the Bible, not pertaining to the medical false industry. And next, I'm gonna jump into Numbers 12 to get a better understanding of that mark. Numbers 12, and I'm gonna go through 10 through 13. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. So again, Miriam had to be dark, and then she came white as snow, because everybody noticed, like, whoa, what's going on? She got very pale. She got white. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said upon Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, and lay not the sin upon us, and wherein we have done foolish, and wherein we have sinned. So again, when Aaron said unto Moses, he said, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us. He's talking about the sin, which means the mark, which means leprosy. That's what Brother Aaron was talking about, and that's that mark. And I'm gonna pull another verse for that mark. But let me finish this. In verse 12, let her not be as one dead, whom the flesh is half consumed, where he cometh out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her now, God, I beseech thee. And that mark is the mark of sin, which is the man of sin, which is the son of perdition. And if we understand where that comes from, I'm gonna jump to John 17:12. While I was with him in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that gave us me, I kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. And I want to get to that, and I want to get breakdown of that word perdition, which is strong G684, apaleia, which means destroying, utter destruction, and perishing and ruin. And if you have been watching our prior videos, and this is just tying back to Esau to get an understanding of what that mark means and how we know who's marked with the mark is Adawan, which we understand that means Esau Edom. And if we understand what the meaning of the Paleo Hebrew means, to waste away or to destroy, just like the son of perdition. So that's how you know who he's talking about when he's pertaining to the son of perdition. He's talking about Esau Edom, which means to waste away. That's why we always say you got to get these definitions, get this understanding back in the Hebrew, because then you understand while brothers on the street are preaching why he's the son of the devil, why he's the son of perdition, son of the sin. Because right here, when you break it down, you see it for what it is. Now I'm going to jump to 2 Thessalonians 2, and I'm going to jump 3 through 10 real quick. And let no man deceive you by any means, for there shall not come, except there of a falling away of the first, that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So again, we already know who this man of sin is, and the son of perdition, which is that serpent seed, which ties back into Cain, which is Esau and Edom. 4, who is opposed to exalting himself above all, and is called God, and that is worship, so that he is God, sitteth on the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So basically, that is talking about Lucifer and how he has started the mystery schools of Babylon through Ham, and basically through Nimrod and Cush, and how basically he wanted to exalt himself and his story over Yahweh and his word. So that's basically what that's tying into, is tying back into the original fall of man. And I'm jumping to verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who knoweth who will let until he be taken out of the way. So basically saying that the mystery of iniquity is already working. Basically saying it's already permitting in the world, and only he knoweth. So it's saying only the ones, or the judges, or the basically, or the saints with the knowledge, they basically are knowing. And basically it will be taken out in one. And that part, it says until he be taken out of the way. It's saying until that day of judgment, which means he'll be taken out of the way by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. And let me jump down to verse 8. Then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord has consumed with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So we already understand the spirit of his mouth means the truth, basically bringing out the Bible, bringing the truth in the spirit of Yahweh, telling the truth that we are the true Hebrews, and bringing out the law and the statute, the commandments that we should be following, and bringing out that Esau Edom is the seed of the wicked. And he's basically saying that in the day of his return, that he will show everybody who is King of Kings. And I'm going to jump to verse 9 and 10. And even whose coming is after the work of Satan, with all the power of the signs of lying wonders. 10. With all the deceivable and the righteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that it might be saved. So basically what he's saying is that a lot of people are coming after the work of Satan, and basically they're going to be deceived. And there's going to be a lot of, like, he's going to use a lot of tricks and a lot of sorcery, just like he does with the TV, or what he's doing right now with the coronavirus. And he's going to be trying to do the most in the last days to try to trick a lot of people and try to get them off their balance, off their ruach, after getting his word, because he's supposed to be oiling his lamp every day. And so that he will, and at the last day, he will reveal, basically how he will reveal all the deceit, all the deception, and all the unrighteousness in him. And it will perish. And then the truth will reign. The truth of Yahweh and the love will reign. That everybody that has waited on Yahweh, the saints, they will be saved. And I'll let Brother Darren go ahead and jump onto Cain.
All right, so back to Cain. Back in Genesis 4, verse 15. And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him shall kill him. That word mark. So what he's talking about the same mark of that Esau Edom was born with, that leprosy, to basically point him out easily. He had shed blood, but there was none to give him instruction. Henceforth, however, he who slays another shall himself be slain. Then Yahweh gave him the dog as a protection against the wild beasts, and to mark him as a sinner, he afflicted him with leprosy. Cain's repentance insecure, though it was bore a good result. 16, and Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. So just like I was saying, he's talking about that mark. But 16, a lot of people don't catch on to it. He dwelt in the land of Nod because he's a Nodite. His father is a Nodite, which is a fallen seed. Proverbs 3 and 32, for the froward is abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous. The curse of Yahweh is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just. So that mark, that's what the curse of Yahweh is that mark. So back to Esau. So Genesis 25 and 23, it talks about how there are two nations in his womb, in Rebekah's womb. You know how one people shall be stronger than the other. He's talking about, of course, the sons of Jacob. And the elder shall serve the younger. He's talking about Esau, how he will serve he served Jacob, which he did in this world, which he will do again in the next world before he perishes. 25, and first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. There you go. He's a description of Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 3 score years old when she bare them. So what he's talking about is he came out red, but he also has red hair, like a hairy garment. So he's the easiest way to put it, he was more of like everybody been to Florida. It's like a bad tanned white person. You can tell they're white, but that tan sets them apart. So what he's talking about, so whenever you read through the Bible and you hear about the red dragon, like in Revelations 12, or the red army, or Satan, or something that has to do with red, more than likely it's going to revolve around Esau, Edom, just like the army of the Roman. They was called the Red Army. You see what I'm saying? So you got to use history as well to line up with the Bible, and that's how you get a lot of the understanding. So I'm going to read out of Malachi chapter 1, I'll read verse 1 through 4. And the burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, said Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh? Yet I loved Jacob. And I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Wherefore, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh, or Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah, they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them the board of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh has indignation forever. So he's telling you right now, hey, I hate Esau, you know, and I hate him so bad. This is what I did. I laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness, like basically destroyed them. That's how bad it is. So just like when he talks about in Psalms 58:3, the wicked are estranged from the womb; they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. But you get people like, well, not all quote unquote white people are bad, but you gotta understand the Most High deals with them as a nation. He's not gonna be like, oh, you know, yes, he's separating the 2/3 and the 1/3, but the reason he's doing that is because, you know, because he promised that he wouldn't utterly destroy Jacob. But at the end of the day, he's still chastising us with the children of the 2/3. So a lot of people have to understand when they're speaking about somebody, they're speaking about them as a nation. Yes, they might point them out as, you know, King Nebuchadnezzar or something like that, but he's speaking about them as a nation. So he's punishing you as a nation. When he talks about the wicked, he's talking about Esau, Edom as a nation. I don't care if your best friend, which shouldn't be your best friend, is a white man, and he's so loving and stuff like that. At the end of the day, he's still wicked. You should not trust that man no matter what. All right? So I'm going to jump in John 8.
Before you jump to John, just
Go
like
ahead.
what I was going through that definition before about congenital, a trait or disease present since birth, and just like he said in Psalms 58:3, the wicked are estranged from the womb, basically saying since birth. That's just tying to the definition, letting you know that's a congenital pigmentation disease present since birth. It's just facts. It's facts. Letting you know. It ain't hate speech. It's facts.
Exactly. People be feeling some type of way when we tell them the Most High doesn't love everybody. Like, again, you got to break down. We might do a video breaking out John 3:16 because a lot of people need to understand that one, and we'll probably go into detail and even give you verses to tack onto it if people be saying, "Oh, this is not what it is" and stuff like that. But I'm in John 8 verses 44 through 45. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh the lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. So what he's talking about, the deceiver. He's talking about that Nodite. He was a murderer from the beginning. Yeah, talking about Cain. You know, Nodite. Then it goes to Cain. He was a murderer from the beginning when he killed his brother Abel. And abode not in the truth. He didn't want to hear it because, one, he wasn't Adam's son, so he wasn't going to get the truth. And there's no truth in him. He's just a straight liar. Like, whenever you hear Esau Edom speaks on something, he'll give you one truth and two lies right after that one.
Exactly. Liar. They don't know how to tell the truth.
Yeah, when we out here telling the truth, we get hit with anti-Semitic, which is not even a real word. Or we get hit with stuff that, you know, people is going to be like, oh, he's a liar. Of course he's going to get away with it because this is his world. So, you know, but sooner or later, the truth is going to reveal. So Revelations 2:9, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. So to break this one down, he's talking about, you know, the Jew-ish, right? But thou art rich. Yeah, most Jews are rich. it doesn't matter what, they can be famous or not famous. Most of them come from a wealthy background because they control the money. And they blaspheme a lot of stuff. Like if you ever read through the Talmud, a lot of that stuff that they do are backwards. Like a lot of it.
Totally opposite the Bible.
Yeah, so he talks about the synagogue of Satan. He's talking about that Molech sign that they wear, the Star of David. It's not the Star of David. That is Molech. That's when he's. If you understand Solomon, you understand that a lot of the Freemasons and all of these occults get their learning from Solomon, because at one point in time Solomon went off, and that's when Satan gave him the ring to control, I think, 77 degrees of the demons. And so that's why they also get their ratings. You know, they rank the 39-degree masonry and stuff like that. They get it from him. Revelation 3:9, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So, like I said, he's talking about the fake Jews. They're going to get exposed. But you also have to understand, when this truth come out, if you read like in Isaiah 14, they have to cling to us in order to enter the kingdom. That's the only way to enter the kingdom. Doesn't matter if there's 12 gates. It's 12 gates for those certain people. People think it's just going to be a regular gate. No, bro. Just like when Hamashiach says, I'm going to separate the sheep from the goats. It's a spiritual thing. It's a blood. It's basically through blood. So you got to understand, when that Ruach hits you, it basically helps you with everything. It's intelligent light. So when you get hit with the Ruach, you'll be able to understand everything. You'll be able to know who's a part of this house and who's not. They can differentiate people like that. So he just put it in a more humanely way for him to be able to search it out. He's going to understand it. Can you absorb the Ruach HaKodesh or can you not? So that's what he's talking about. He's going to make. He already knows the fake, the fake and phony from the true people. So what a lot of people have to understand, sooner or later, the Jews are going to be shown, like they're doing now. They're getting exposed. They're getting hit. He's doing it slowly but surely. He's dismantling them. Isaiah 34:5, for my sword shall be bathed in in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Talking about Esau, Edom again, the Idumea, the Idumeans. That's another land where the Edomites resided at. 34:6, the sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord had they sacrificed in Basra, and in great slaughter in the land of Idumea. So that's where the Edomites used to live in the clefts of the rock. They used to dwell in the land of Idumea and Basra. That's what he's talking about. So he's basically coming down to destroy them. They're still the same people. The land is still the same. They might not live there, but they're still a part of the earth, like we read in the beginning, Ecclesiastes 1:9. There's no new thing under the sun. So, like I was saying, Isaiah 14:16-18, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house. So what is this talking about? 16, he's talking about how Esau, Edom has been using his power and his military to get anything that he wanted. He wants his bank in your country. Okay, he's gonna go over there and destroy them. He's gonna make you look like the liars and the savages while he's over there doing a masterful plot, taking over the world, which he's done many times. When made the world as a wilderness, basically destroying, dropping, like Hiroshima, destroying stuff,
dropping bombs,
exactly, right. That opened not the house of prisoners. Just like you see on the worldly view, just like you see our people, they're getting hit with selling drugs, like
that's the prison complex. It's the prison complex industry.
Non-violent crimes, and they still in prison. But Esau Edom wants to go out here and sell marijuana too, and they don't look at it as bad. Or you might have an Edomite woman talking like, "Yeah, I give it to my baby" and things like that. But if somebody like us use it medicinally, like you're supposed to do, then we get hit like, oh, that's a bad parent and things like that. So that's what he's talking about. That's that lie and trickery. 18:2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils. and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So this place is full of wickedness. No matter what you do, it might seem normal to you because it's full of wickedness. But think about it. The easiest way to think about it, one, read your Bible, of course. So it's going to tell you what's right and what's not right. But think about it. If this happened in the kingdom, do you not think they would be punished? That's what I'm saying. Like, law has been so slack. Like he talks about in Lamentations, the law has been so slack that people are just getting away with it. Like, it's like the foot in the door phenomenon. You take one small step and they run with it. 18:3. For all nations have drunken of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God have remembered her iniquities. 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. 21. And a mighty angel took upon a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. So what he's talking about in 3, if you want to do business, it doesn't matter if I'm Chinese, all right? And I might be Buddhist or something like that. I might dress a certain way with my customs. If I want to do business with America, you're going to see me with a suit and tie on because I have to do business with them. So they might say, okay, you must drink this cup of blood in order to do business. If you're very willing and desperate to get hold of America, or you want to do business with them, you're going to do it. So that's what he's talking about. Like, people always want to do business with the whore, which is America, and things like that, because right now she's so mighty and powerful. But as you see, a lot of nations are turning on her because they start to realize, like, when they stop drinking from their cup, they are aware it's like, this is falling down. This is horrible. 18:5, Revelation 18:5, he's talking about like our sins have reached into heaven because nobody repented. Even if they did repent, they kept doing things wrong. They have not changed their ways. 16, when he says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. So everything that she's done to us and other nations is going to be double that. Standing afar off fear of her torment. Basically, he's talking about judgment is coming upon them. And the angel took a stone like a great millstone and threw it because he's saying Babylon is going to fall. It is going to fall because of their iniquities and their lies. And Esau, Edom is the daughter of Babylon. Babylon just means the land of confusion. Like you see now, they're trying to pass like all types of laws and people not paying attention to it or aware of it because they're full of distractions. They're worried about when sports are going to come back on or when this and that because they're not trying to pay attention to it. They're drunk with that wine, even the own citizens, and they're being taken advantage of. But the Most High is revealing things, whether it's through his prophets mainly or it's through other people. They're being shown. And that's what's going on. Like that hedge that they've had is getting ripped apart because it's about that time. Just to say that. You got anything to say, bro?
Oh no, man, you pretty much hit on the head, and just like he said at the end, just tying it back to that great city of Babylon. That just meaning when he's talking about destruction of Babylon, he's talking about the fall of the rulership of Esau, Edom, which is that serpent seed, was that bloodline of Cain. And that's just tying it all back in together. What he's talking about, just like he said in Ezra 6 and 9, he's talking about Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning. It's all tying this together, giving you an idea of what he was talking to and how the prophecy comes into fruition over time through Cain, through Abel, through Jacob and Esau, up to us now. Now we're right here. We're at the final countdown, the last dance. So that's all I got to say, man. And with that, I just want to give thanks to Yahweh Hashem Shai. And I want to thank all the Aqua for listening and learning. And Shabbat Shalom. Y'all take it easy today and rest. And we'll be back with another one. I appreciate it. Shalom.
Shalom.